Oh, here she comes. There it is, the end of chapter 520. One of the biggest twists in the series, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, welcome back everyone. It is Bleach Monday once again, which means it's time for another live reaction. This time for episode 9 of the 1000-Year Blood War, titled The Drop. And yes, considering that is the title they have chosen this week, I think we can reasonably expect to see some, if not all, of that big fight everyone's been waiting for, and I am really excited to see it. I hope they get it right. But even more than that, I'm curious to see just how much of it they choose to cover, how far they're able to push the episode. As I mentioned during my predictions last week, I do feel like this is a particularly challenging slate of chapters to adapt faithfully, to get it right, as I imagine they're going to want to put the focus on the fight wherever they can. Understandably so, but there's still a decent chunk of plot to get through first, if we look at the chapters they will presumably be covering here. So, I mean, just how much of the fight are we going to get to see this week? How much are they going to be able to show? Are they going to cut some other content to squeeze in as much of the battle as they can? Whatever happens, I'm really intrigued and interested to see how this all pans out. So, without further ado, let's get on with this reaction. As always, I'll be watching from the perspective of someone who has read the entire 1000-Year Blood War arc, so expect potential spoilers for the entire arc moving forwards. And now, let's get on with the episode. As always, I'm really excited to see just how they do it. So, let's get on with this thing. Immediately starting out where I thought we would, which is a very good thing, as I think this is a great scene to open the episode with. I believe this is the first time we've seen Nanao in the anime, unless she was, actually I think she was very briefly in episode 3 at the start of the first invasion. But I think this is the first time she's got to do anything properly. But this is a great scene, of course, because this is, of course, the start of Kyoraku getting to play a much bigger role in the arc, and really just transforming his character here. I love all of this. That is just a fantastic shot. Him being like, oh, give me a break. It's just a brilliant way of showing that he now has this additional responsibility on his hands. So really the question I've got to begin with is how much of the Zero Division stuff are we going to see? And immediately, based off of what I can hear, yes, so we're getting the comedic aspects that I wasn't expecting that we would get. Kazuo, Kazuhiro, those are characters I was thinking could easily be cut, which is interesting. I'm glad it's not being cut, because the more we can get, the happier I am. Yeah, so they're keeping in basically all the really funny moments of this scene. It's just a bit of a shame they couldn't keep the funny moments in of the Tenjiro scene last week. Yeah, I mean, that's basically all of... I mean, Tenjiro's not in this a lot at this point, so that's pretty much everything of his done. Which is cool. It's cool that they at least kept this bit in. I guess they kind of had no choice. I did think they could cut some, but actually, this makes more sense. Tenjiro is really not wearing a lot. Yeah, this is a nice scene as well. I always like this bit when he smacks Renji, and I hope they keep the shot of him, Renji, like, wincing, but Tenjiro lets him go anyway. Yeah, that's really cool. That's done well. Yeah, I love he's gripping his own fist as he's barely able to stand, basically. It's a real good showcase of Renji's fortitude, though, that it's just an awesome moment. Okay, so I mean, basically, this is all totally intact so far, which makes me wonder how, again, I'm basically just thinking of how much of the fight are we actually going to get at the end of this episode. Yeah, this is so far basically totally chapter faithful. I do wonder if they're going to keep the line in about the Soul King here. That, again, was always something that I kind of wondered if it would be expanded upon. I really do hope we get to see more of these guys in the anime. I mean, so far they've stuck very closely to how much they did keep the Soul King line in, to how much we've seen them, but obviously it's later on where I'm hoping they get a better showing. Speaking of great scenes, Kyoraku immediately taking on the Central 46 after being made Captain Commander is so badass. And not only that, but he kind of verbally bests them not only once but twice as well during the same meeting. It's just really good stuff. Yep, awesome. Of course, the precursor to what I considered in my video about the top twists of Bleach, one of the biggest twists in the entire series. Central 46 trying to futilely stop Zaraki's true power. I love that Kyoroku's just having none of it as well. He does look so awesome with the eye patch. Such a good design choice. I love that. I love that line where he just basically turns around to them and says, if we're attacked again and you have to fend for yourselves, are you going to be able to? And he's just like, all right, I'll take that as a yes. That's so badass. Oh, here she comes. There it is, the end of chapter 520. One of the biggest twists in the series, as far as I'm concerned. One of the craziest endings to a chapter ever. That was cool. It was awesome, yeah. It's slightly different to how I always envisioned it, because I always envisioned the Central 46 being almost totally dark, apart from the lit up spaces they were standing on. Are we about to get Buff Con? Yeah, there he is. Okay, are they gonna... I like being able to see the Gaton Den from above, that's cool. But are we gonna get to any... just no context for Buff Con whatsoever. He could just become that now. Hikifune, again, just has a great design. So completely unique looking within the world of Bleach. That's the main thing I tend to look for, especially in characters introduced this late into the series. So far, now we're obviously in 521. It's been very, very... At the rate they are going, I think we might get maybe only the beginning of the big fight at the end of this episode. It's nice seeing Kon again. No matter how far into the series you get, there's a real nostalgic feeling whenever you see Kon. The Gaton Den looks really good. I don't know why, it just looks really nice. I always found that kind of suspicious in the original chapter as well. I think it's one of her abilities to make them feel hungry, basically, when she says that. This is a really weird thing to comment on, but those eating shots are basically exactly the same as they were in the original chapter as well. That's cool though, nice attention to detail. I love Kon eating the food as well. How does that even work? I don't know how that works. But see, this is interesting to me because they're keeping all of this in. This is exactly the same as the original chapter, comedic moments and all, which tells me that they are going to be sticking very accurately to the source material this week, which I'm happy with because that means the pacing will feel better in general. I think it does just mean that presumably we won't get much of the big battle at the end. But that's okay, I don't mind waiting until next week. One small thing, but I just love the kind of soft gradient in not really just Ichigo's hair, in everyone's hair, but it's very obvious in Ichigo's. But this new colouring style looks really nice in scenes like this. It really pops. It makes the whole thing look very artistic, I think. I do feel like Ichigo and Renji as a duo come closer in this arc really than ever before. And it is this training in the Zero Division that really kind of kickstarts a lot of that, which is nice to see. Man, we are so close to some like crazy stuff. Has her voice changed? Oh, wow. I think her voice has changed, isn't it? Okay, they're not holding back, apparently. One thing that's kind of interesting here as well is that, which I guess I never really thought about before, but she's obviously holding her Zanpakuto in this scene, basically. Not that we have any idea really what it does, or what it does in the context of this scene, if anything. There it is. You know what? That is better. As we speculated last week, they're giving them their... Which means maybe we will see more of Senjumaru's palace, which I'm really, really hopeful for, because it's so brushed over in the original chapter. But yeah, that makes a loads more sense. Then Hikifune and Senjumaru just randomly got their title cards in the original chapter they appeared in the source material, whereas here that just makes way more sense doing it like that. The Geekon is absolutely an invention worthy of getting into the Royal Palace for. When you think about how many times we've seen it used even so casually throughout the series, absolutely, Hikifune was worthy of her position. That's a nice little effect. Yes, up next we've got a very, very important character, and a very, very important palace. Yeah, it's going to be really interested to see how they handle all this. And they do blast through the Royal Guard very, very quickly. And yeah, so we won't be seeing much of that fight at all, I wouldn't think. Which... It's cool seeing the Seirei all destroyed like that, but this is now 523. We've skipped the Oetsu stuff. And that's interesting. This is potentially the biggest structural change we've seen to date. But okay, now I'm really excited because we're going to get the first part of the fight. Yeah, I love how he looks amazing there. Before they get too into this, I do not think they've skipped Oetsu. That's way too important. Clearly they are just rearranging things so that he gets more time later on, which I think absolutely makes a lot of sense. UNOHANA'S voice is so good. Even though we've only heard her to date as that kind of kindly, matronly character, now there is like a sinister undercurrent. Also, this version of Muken, very interesting. But their voices are echoing as well. That's a really cool effect too. Here it comes. The true nature revealed. Oh, okay, they're just doing it like that. Okay. That was cool. I kind of would have liked maybe a little effect or to actually see her turn her face to Zaraki, but, you know, it's still pretty cool. One thing I do love, I love the black and white light effect going on. Really cool. Really setting the creepy atmosphere for what should hopefully be a great fight. I mean, I wasn't expecting the big structural change, so I've been kind of thrown for a loop now. Oh, UNOHANA looks amazing, doesn't she? That is such a cool shot. That way her voice actress is able to just kind of change her voice. They've got a really kind of awesome... I love how this looks. Like there's like an onyx or like obsidian style appearance to everything, making it look really cool. So basically what's happened is they have cut out chapter 522, Love It, and the first half of 523. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to get all of this fight, presumably, I don't know how far we are in, but there's no way we'll get the whole thing. So they'll cut it off at some point. We'll get the rest of it next week, and then depending on how much they decide to cover next week, we'll get at least a little bit of the Oetsu stuff. I'm alright with that. I think that makes sense to me. That's a great shot of Kyoraku, feeling the pressure and responsibility of being the captain commander. How smart this decision is eternally debatable. I just hope this fight is good. I love the lighting, though. That's really unique. Is this a new track? Sounds great. Isane's about to cry again. I said last week that it wasn't the only time she cried in this arc. I'm pretty sure this isn't the last time she cries either. I'm not sure if we've heard this music before or not, but it's pretty good. I like it. UNOHANA looks fantastically cool. This is nice. The choreography was always really good in this fight. And this is, of course, only the very beginning. But I will say they're doing a very good job of drawing her. Artistically, like, she looks great. I will say, though, that, again, outside of simply removing those chapters, this has been extraordinarily faithful again so far. But depending on where they end this is, another 4-chapter episode, I think? Depending on where they end it. But I'm starting to think they might only end it at the end of 524. Oh, UNOHANA looks so good! And the little strands of white light on the characters look fantastic. Like the individual strands on her eyelashes. That's such a cool effect. It's weird hearing her shout, but like it works. She sounds great. She sounds awesome. I think the silvery black white look gives everything a metallic sheen. And then of course the crimson spurts of blood. Everything works great. This so far, I think, looks fantastic. However, if they are saving the bulk of the fight for next week, I'm really hoping we get some incredible animation. Like, I just think it should be absolutely crazy, like a dancing flurry of blades. Whereas this is only the setup, really. This whole episode is very much a transitory episode to lead into, hopefully, that big fight. Depending on where they end it. Oh, just showing us young Kenpachi off the get-go. So I imagine next week we will get, hopefully, the proper flashback of their battle. So that's a nice little tease, I guess. Yeah, that's cool. Seeing Child Zaraki was always a great part of this fight. Kenpachi's voice actor is really selling that. That's awesome. He sounds so uncharacteristically defeated. That's a great shot as well. Just that crimson running down the blade, and everything else is like this kind of muted metal color. I think artistically it's a great compromise, because obviously Muken is supposed to be like basically pitch black. So I think this works really well. Yeah, pretty happy with this so far, I've got to be honest. I wasn't expecting to get maybe quite this much this week, I don't know. It's interesting, so far it's quite slow, methodical. UNOHANA just looks absolutely amazing. But I think next week it will kind of rapidly speed up. Oh, I forgot we hadn't had the title card yet. I'm guessing that's the end. Interesting. It's funny, going into this episode, the thing I was most curious about was how they were going to adapt it, and it turns out they're adapting it in a totally new way, basically. A way we've never really seen before, which is to just cut out in an entire chapter and a bit, and presumably add them in later on. There's no way the Oetsu segments are gone for good, because they were way too important. They set up the entire next part, which is, I guess, the anime team's thinking. It probably does make more sense to frame it like this. Yeah, I'm alright with that, because then the Oetsu stuff will go right into Everything But the Rain. And the preview poem is UNOHANA Battle. I think that is the one from Volume 59. Episode 10, The Battle. So they're setting up Episode 10 to truly be the big showdown between these two characters, Kenpachi Zaraki and Yachiru UNOHANA. That's very exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to that one. This one was good. It was good, but it definitely felt transitory in comparison to what I'm expecting to get next week, which I'm hoping is just a crazy battle. A real showcase of these two bloodlusted demons just killing, ripping. I'm expecting it to just be, I'm hoping it will be a real celebration of the lineage of Kenpachi in general. The Zero Division stuff was perfectly good. It was very, very accurate to the original chapter, which is always nice to see. So this episode covered, 520, 521, 23, and 24. So it was a lovely 4-chapter episode. I'm very happy with that. And I think, we'll obviously talk about this more in our review, that was the best way of going about it. I did say in my review that I thought people wouldn't be happy if they split this fight in half, but I think they've probably done it the best way they could. Moving Oetsu at a natural cliffhanger point, which is the end of Hikifune's palace, moving Oetsu to after this battle makes a lot of sense. Alright. Yeah, cool, okay. I liked what I saw so far. I don't think this episode, blew me away. I'm thinking they're saving that for next week, but we will have to wait and see. But that's it for the live reaction, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of episode 9, The Drop. Did you enjoy this week's episode? What do you think about the structural changes if you've read the source material already? And yeah, I'd just love to hear your comments down below. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't done already, guys. A massive shout out and a huge thank you goes out to everybody supporting me over there on Patreon. As always, I really do appreciate it. But until next time, I'll catch you later. And I'll see you then.